This is what we need to do if you want to build wealth, okay? I want to talk to you about buying your second home. And you probably already heard me talking about buying your first house, the steps of it, whatever. Now we're going to talk to you about buying your second home and keep the house you already have as a rental, okay? This is what we're going to do. You know, you already have a house. You said, David, you reach out to me a year later after I helped you buy your first house, and you say, David, I'm ready to make the next step. I'm ready to buy this second house. And this is how we do it, okay? We get together, we sit down, and we talk about how much we can rent your current property. And let's do easy math. Let's say we can rent your house for $2,000, and your mortgage is, easy math, $1,500. That means that the way the bank is going to see that is going to see it as a wash. It's going to see that your mortgage is $1,500 and the rent is $2,000. So they're going to see it like you do not have a debt. They're going to see it like it's a negative. And the bank is going to ask you to provide a lease of that property being rented while we're on the contract, which we will provide that. And we're going to go under the contract. We're going to promote your house to get it rented. But this is what you're going to do. Before that, you're going to call me and say, David, thank you for helping me buy my first house. It was amazing. I'm excited to buy the next one. And I'm going to say, great job. I'm here to help you. Okay? We're going to get together. The bank is going to require you to have 5% down to buy your next home. I'm going to put you in contact with one of my local lenders, one of the greatest lenders you have ever worked with. They're going to run the numbers. They're going to give you a loan. They're going to give you a new loan. If your property was $400,000 before, the bank wants to see that the home is a little bit bigger. So for the underwriter to make sense that you are actually moving to the property and you're not saying, oh yeah, I'm going to buy this property and I'm not going to move to the property. You have to say, yeah, this property is a little bit bigger. Let's say you had a condo, now you're buying a townhouse. Let's say it was a townhouse, now you're buying a bigger townhouse or a single family home, okay? So then we are going to sit down, we're going to look at, we're going to talk about the buying process. I'm going to go over again. I'm going to send you properties. We're going to look at properties. Buying is a process of elimination. We're going to look at homes and we're going to make offers. And then we're going to go and under contract, we're going to do inspections. We're going to do appraisal. The bank is going to want to do an appraisal. Then in that process, the bank is going to ask you for a lease for the property that you have. Then before we even get started to that, we're going to talk, you and I are going to sit down and we're going to talk about how much we can rent your property. And we're going to run comps on how much we can rent your property in the neighborhood. And then we are going to do, I'm going to run comps in your neighborhood and to see how much we can rent your property for. If we can rent it for $2,000, $2,200. But let's, for the quick math, we're going to do $2,000. Your mortgage is $1,500 because you bought a year ago and the rental market has been going up and it's always been going like this since 50 years ago. If you look at the charts, you will see that the rental market has gone up while the real estate market has gone a little bit down, a little bit up, and at the end of the day, it's you will be just okay. So then you are going to have, now that gives us an idea to provide to the bank and say, hey, lender, my mortgage is this, but I'm going to rent my property for this much. And the bank, the rental price, it only covers 75% of the mortgage. Let me explain that. Let's say your mortgage is $1,500 and you rent your property at $1,500, even though on paper you're breaking even. What the bank sees is like, well, they take into consideration vacancy, a month of vacancy a year, right? So they say, well, his mortgage is $1,500 and the rental is $1,500, but we are only going to count 75% of that. So 75% of $1,500, it's about $1,150, something like that. So now the bank is going to see that 25% negative debt. So if the mortgage is $1,500 and the rental is $1,500, there is a 25% of that is going to look in you. It's going to look in your credit and your record like you have a negative $350, $450. It's like almost like a car payment. And now the bank is going to qualify you based on your income, but they're going to take that debt into consideration. If they're going to take the $1,500, they're going to take 25%. Now, if you could rent it for $2,000 and your mortgage is $1,500, that means you're breaking even. That means the bank is going to say, oh, he's making $500 a month. That breaks even with the 25% of that. The 75% of $2,000 is $1,500, and that's how much $1,500 is breaking even. So we're good. Okay, so now you can get qualified for more. Then, and a lot of people is like, well, I want to get smart. What about if I tell the bank my house is going to rent for $2,500, but in fact it's only going to rent for $2,000? Well, a lot of times the bank will require you to do an appraisal, a rental appraisal. Then you have to pay extra because if it sounds normal, the underwriter is gonna go to Zillow and say, oh, let's see how much the house next door rented for. Okay, $2,000, but you think you can get $2,500? Then they might want you to do an appraisal, a rental appraisal, and that's just extra paperwork. It's just more expensive for you. So you want to do it. You want to take a market value price so you can avoid all those extra paperwork. So next, we're gonna be looking at the property, and we're gonna make offers. We're gonna get it under contract, and then you will settlement date comes. You get your keys for your new home. You are gonna close on that property. You move in, and then you have your new tenants move into the new house. You will have the new tenants move into your new house, the house that you had rented, and ta-da! Now you have two houses with 5% down, and the bank was able to lend you that money. The banks allow you to do this up to 10 times. You can have up to 10 properties like that. More than that, it gets a little bit more complicated. The loans becomes commercial loans, and then it gets a little bit more complicated. It's doable. There's people who own 50 doors, 100 doors, 150, people that they live off rental income. So that is possible, that is doable, and we will definitely make it happen. But this is how you buy your second home. This is, if you continue watching my videos, you buy your first house, and then a year later, you're gonna say, I wanna buy my second home. I want you to help me to buy my second home. This is how you do it. You can buy your second home with 5% down. You rent out the property, the property you're living in. The bank is gonna see that. The bank is gonna see that loan as a break it even, and you will own two houses. So let's say your first house was $300,000. It's about it. And then your new house is worth $400,000. Now you have $700,000 in real estate. So imagine in 30 years when you pay off. This is why it's really important. The earlier you start investing in real estate, the better it is. I was listening to a video today that was talking about the importance of buying a house with a lower interest rate. Or 22 years ago, the interest rates were at 3%. The guy is like, if you bought a house for $500,000, your payment would have been $1,600. And now the house has appreciated 20%. Now the house is worth $600,000. Now you 20%. If you're putting 20% down, now you're financing $80,000 more than you were financing originally at a 6% interest rate. Now that mortgage is going to be $2,800. That $1,200 difference from a year ago because of the lower interest rates. Okay, so it's really, really important to buy your first house as soon as the better. One of my mistakes I have made is I bought my house and I took a little bit too long to buy my next home. It took me like 5 years. A lot of it was because you wasn't aware of how to do it, wasn't aware how to. I'm in the business. Listen, we all make mistakes. If you are watching and you already own a house and you're pretty happy with your house, step out of your comfort zone, buy your next home, buy it with 5% down, rent out your home. Listen, the house that you're living in most likely is not your dream home. A lot of people, I come across people who are like, oh, my house is my dream house. I'm never moving. It's like, no, that is, especially if you're young, you should be able to be flexible. You should be able to pick up your backpack and move. This is really important to not have a lot of crap in your house, because the more you have, the harder it is to move. But if you have just a couple items. All you have to do is pick up your backpack and move to anywhere in the country, anywhere outside of the world. You want to go to Colombia, you rent out your house and you move out. You want to build wealth, you pick up what you have and you go to your next house with 5% down. That's how you're going to build wealth. That's how people collect so many real estate, like kind of like Thanos collecting rings. You want to be collecting real estate, because if you're making, let's use the example I put in earlier, $500 a month, that might not seem a lot, but a year, that's $6,000, okay? Now you have this asset that is paying for itself because somebody else is paying it down. You're building equity and appreciation. Remember, the house that is worth $300,000 today, in 5 years, it's going to be worth way, way, way more. Let's do the math, 5% increments every year. That's about 5%, 15, 30, 50. So it's about closer to $400,000. I didn't do the math right, but it's around that, around there. Appreciation is a beautiful thing. Also, appreciation could be a very bad thing, because appreciation and inflation goes hand in hand. When the inflation goes super high, the prices go really high, and that's how people build wealth. Imagine if you would have bought a house 5 years ago, or 5 houses 5 years ago, and those houses have appreciated $100,000 each. Now your net worth will be $500,000 more. And now imagine if you had 20. Now imagine you had 50. You have to start thinking big. And if you think you are living in your house, that's your dream house, you're not thinking big enough. You gotta think big, you gotta think greater. My very good friend, Donald J. Trump said, if you are already thinking, might as well think big. If you want to get somewhere, if you want to do things in life, you want to start thinking bigger and greater, and just think bigger, okay? You want to buy 5 houses? Well, Grant Cardone says 10x it. 5 houses, 50 houses. Because at the end of the day, if your goal is to make $1 million, if you 10x that, that's 10 millions. If you fall short, I'm pretty sure you're going to be past middle. If your goal is to make $1 million and that's your goal, if you fall short, you're going to be falling short of $1 million. Listen, Grant Cardone says to 10x. If you don't know who that is, he wrote a book, 10x Rule. Great book. I highly recommend it. He talks about thinking big, 10x in everything. You want to be healthier, 10x it. You want to make $1 million, 10x it. You want to own 10 houses, 10x it. Everything is great. Look, like I said, if you think that you're living in your dream home and you want to own a house, you're never going to get that far. But if you want to build wealth, start investing in real estate. Take advantage of a low down payment and build wealth. Be great, and we'll see you next time.